Welcome to Nutrition Basics. My name is Samantha Haswell, and I am the Integrative Health Dietitian at Massey Cancer Center. June is National Cancer Survivors Month, and today we'll be talking about the New American Plate and rethinking how we eat for cancer survivorship and prevention. One of the common myths I hear in my clinics when I talk to patients is that they think cancer is genetic and they can't do anything about it. But American Institute of Cancer Research has found that around 40% of cancer cases can be prevented. But what can we do? Let's talk about what we can eat to decrease our risk of cancer, for cancer survivorship and for cancer prevention. First, we'll start with whole grains. Whole grains may be protective against colorectal cancer. They're not only a source of dietary fiber, but they're also a source of many bioactive compounds with potential anti-carcinogenic properties. As a source of dietary fiber, it can not only help with bowel movements to eat whole grains, but it also may reduce your risk of colorectal cancer by decreasing your GI transit time and diluting carcinogens in your stool. The whole grains are also filled with bioactive compounds like vitamin E, selenium, copper, zinc, lignans, and phytochemicals, which have been shown to potentially have anti-carcinogenic properties. When thinking of whole grains, you don't just have to think of 100% whole wheat bread or brown rice. There are many different types of whole grains that be included in your diet for variety. For preparing lunch and dinner, think about trying something new like farro or wild rice instead of just brown rice. Or consider having popcorn as a snack. In general, it's been found that eating 3 servings or 90 grams of whole grain food each day may reduce your colorectal cancer risk by up to 17%. Keep in mind that 1 serving of whole grains is a simple slice of bread, half a cup of rice, 3 cups of popcorn, or a single tortilla. Foods containing dietary fiber may also protect against colorectal cancer. This includes the whole grains we were talking about before, but also includes fruits, vegetables, beans, peas, other legumes, nuts, and seeds. Dietary fiber is fermented in the bowel and may form short-chain fatty acids that may suppress the growth of cancer cells. High-fiber diets may also reduce insulin resistance, which is a potential risk factor for colorectal cancer. When we talk about dietary fiber, American Institute of Cancer Research recommends aiming for 30 grams of dietary fiber daily to help lower your cancer risk. High-fiber diets may also reduce your risk of type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. So try to get in as many whole grains, fruits, vegetables, beans and legumes, and nuts and seeds as you can throughout your day. We talked about dietary fiber and we talked about whole grains, but next let's talk about non-starchy vegetables. Non-starchy vegetables are full of anti-cancer phytochemicals and fiber. American Institute of Cancer Research has found that it protects against multiple cancers, including head and neck cancer, esophageal cancer, lung cancer, and breast cancer. Meanwhile, research has also shown that a low intake of non-starchy vegetables can actually increase someone's risk for colorectal cancer. Let's talk about what's considered non-starchy vegetables. The American Institute of Cancer Research separates non-starchy vegetables into 4 categories. The first category is your green leafy vegetables, which is things like spinach, lettuce, romaine, arugula. The next category is your cruciferous vegetables, which tend to have a strong smell. So things like broccoli and cabbage or cauliflower, or items like bok choy. The third category is your allium vegetables, which are things that have kind of a strong taste, like onions, garlic, leeks, and shallots. And then certain root vegetables are also considered non-starchy vegetables. These include carrots, beets, parsnips, turnips, and rutabagas. Keep in mind that potatoes, sweet potatoes, cassava, yams, and taro are considered starchy vegetables. Starchy vegetables are part of a healthy diet, but should not be considered part of the non-starchy vegetable category. Keep in mind that eating a large amount of starchy vegetables at a time can increase your blood glucose and insulin levels. Therefore, it shouldn't take up a large part of your plate, unlike the non-starchy vegetables, which you can continue to have servings of throughout your meal. We talked about vegetables, but let's talk about fruit. Fruit is also full of phytochemicals and fiber. In particular, fruit intake has been associated with decreased risk of esophageal cancer and decreased risk of lung cancer in those who have smoked or used to use smoked tobacco. Fruit, especially citrus fruit, is high in vitamin C, which is an antioxidant. Antioxidants have been shown to fight off free radicals, protect against oxidative damage, and vitamin C may inhibit formation of carcinogens and protect DNA from mutating. Both antioxidants and phytochemicals have been shown to have cancer-fighting properties. Keep in mind that fruits, vegetables, and whole grains are all high in dietary fiber, which protects against colorectal cancer and can reduce your risk of heart disease and diabetes. We've talked about fruits and vegetables, and we've talked about whole grains. Now let's talk about protein. The American Institute for Cancer Research recommends limiting your red meat, which includes beef, pork, and lamb, to 12 to 18 ounces per week or less. The thought behind this is the high levels of heme iron in red meat may promote colorectal cancer. It's also recommended that you skip processed meats. Processed meats include any meat that has been smoked, cured, salted, fermented, or had preservatives added. This includes things like hot dogs, bacon, sausage, and deli meats. Processed meats, even in small amounts, has been associated with increased risk of colorectal cancer. We talked about protein sources that are not so good for you, but let's talk about healthier protein sources. Poultry, fish, and shellfish are all healthy protein sources that don't have an association with colorectal cancer. Another way you can make healthier protein choices is thinking of your animal proteins as a complement or a side dish to your mostly plant-based meal. Or even considering meatless protein sources like beans, chickpeas, tofu, edamame, nuts, or seeds. In the US, we tend to think of the meat as the primary part of our meal. Try to reframe your thinking around your vegetables and think of meat as your side. This might help you move towards a more plant-based diet. We talk about proteins, but one of the things I want you to keep in mind is that there is an association with grilled meat and cancer risk. Cooking meat at high temperatures, such as when you're grilling, can create cancer compounds. These two compounds are heterocyclic aromatic amines and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. But the good news is there are ways to reduce your risk. As able, try to make sure you're marinating your meat, your poultry, or your fish for at least 30 minutes. It's been shown that by marinating your meat ahead of time, prevents that flame from directly hitting the meat and can reduce the formation of heterocyclic aromatic amines. Polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons are deposited onto the meat by smoke. Try to reduce the amount of time the meat is exposed to the flame by partially cooking meat in the microwave before you cook it over the flame. Try to cook your meats over a low flame and add some color to your grill by grilling fruits and vegetables instead. The good news is that fruits and vegetables don't have any association with heterocyclic aromatic amines or polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. By adding some veggies and fruit to your grill, you can avoid these compounds while also going more towards a plant-based diet. Another thing to keep in mind when you're cooking is minding your smoke point. When you cook oils past their smoke point, which is the point in which they start to produce some smoke and usually give a kind of burnt scent, can create free radicals. Never reuse heated oil, and keep in mind that when you reuse heated oil, you can reduce those polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons that you want to avoid. On this slide here, I've listed some common smoke points to keep in mind. This is useful to know so you make sure that you're not overheating your oil and can avoid those free radicals that can result in damage to your DNA and may cause cancer risk. Keep in mind that oils like avocado oil and canola oil have pretty high smoke points along with peanut oil, while oils like extra virgin olive oil have a pretty low smoke point comparably. Try to use the extra virgin olive oil as a salad dressing and try to use things like canola oil, avocado oil, or peanut oil when you're heating at higher temperatures. Now that we've talked about fruits and vegetables and proteins and whole grains, let's talk about tying this all together. The American Institute of Cancer Research recommends using the New American Plate as a method of putting your meals together. When you're putting your meals together and trying to prevent cancer, you want 2/3 of the plate or more to be vegetables, fruit, whole grains, or beans, and 1/3 or less to be animal protein. The idea behind the New American Plate is to get as many phytochemicals and as many cancer-preventing items on your plate as you can at each meal. Usually I recommend that people make about half their plate non-starchy vegetables, maybe with some fruit, 1/4 of their plate a whole grain, and 1/4 of a plate an animal protein or a plant protein. This way you can make sure you're getting a balanced diet and you're getting in all those nutrients that are helpful for not only preventing cancer, but also reducing your risk of heart disease and diabetes. In the graphics here, you can see some pretty typical New American Plate ideas. The one on the left shows you one which is kind of separated out into different products. And the one on the right shows you a mixed meal of, say, a stir fry that you could use instead. Always keep in mind that you want to make sure that the vegetables and the fruits and the whole grains and the beans are the largest part of your plate, while your animal protein is the smallest part of your plate when you're putting it together. Tying this all together, there are a number of recommendations for cancer prevention and survivorship. We talked about eating a diet high in whole grains, vegetables, fruits, and beans, but it's also important to try to limit your consumption of fast foods or processed foods that are high in fat, starches, and sugars to help you maintain a healthy weight. It's important to limit your red meat and make sure you're eating 12 to 18 ounces of less of red meat and avoiding processed meat as able to reduce your colorectal cancer risk. It's important to work on being physically active. The American Heart Association recommends 150 minutes of moderate activity, and this can include a fast-paced walk or even using a push lawnmower in your yard for that 30 minutes, 5 days a week to help you reach that goal. Try to limit your consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages. Think instead about things like unsweetened coffee, tea, water, and try to limit your alcohol consumption. Unfortunately, alcohol in any form has been associated with increased risk of cancer. If you are going to drink alcohol, we recommend that you drink no more than 1 glass per day for women and no more than 2 glasses per day for men. It's also important to keep in mind that we do not recommend supplements for cancer prevention. Your body generally prefers whole foods. If you think you need a supplement because you may be low in a nutrient, talk to your doctor first, but don't start supplementing without talking to your physician. Thank you for listening in. We hope you found this Nutrition Basics helpful. And I wanted to put a little plug in that if you are around on Wednesdays at the Adult Outpatient Pavilion, we do have our patient farm stand from 10 to 12 p.m., 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., in which you can get some fresh vegetables and fruit to help you with your cancer prevention and survivorship journey. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out at samantha.haswell@vcuhealth.org.